Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
She Claare na Gael and Claare Shaw's Babaliam Musaltacha. My name is Robert Cutting-Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
And Claare na Gael is a bilingual programme in which I'll be saying some things in the English language as Aberon Cús the Ridden Gilg, and I'll be saying some things in the Manx Gaelic, Jinyan Amera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banachtan dat Rish, the newspapers from 1826. We've had reports from the Manx Advertiser and from the Manx Rising Sun, which later, shortly after, became just the Manx Sun. But last time I mentioned another newspaper of the period called the Manx Patriot, so I thought I'd find out a bit more about that this time. On Skiel Machion the Ferrishin, Shen de Rare Fogler John Kelly Elves, Genel the Fogel Elf im Rete Chorerby, as the Shen and Chider, te Grazier Jit de Vee Bach, as Gedodde Fodrelach Lier de Loers on Unfire de Vregen, Vergarich Mach, Egge, as Ren Fege Vergela der Aboord. A much used structure for a song is for a couple to meet, have an exchange of questions and answers, and either go their separate ways or go on together. In a traditional Manx version, the young man is invited to go along with the young lady as Brian Maxdole sings Machalian Veg Dawn. Tauas Geestjach Rish Radio Vanning, Station the Nation, Viscoler Scaliamach by Dúlish, Ellen Vanning.
Cretau gol Machalian Veg Dawn. As Cretau gol Machalian Vegeg, Cretau gol Ellen Maiden, Tammy Goldo so woolly dirty. Crin fair tau gol shen Machalian Veg Dawn. Crin fair taugol shen Machalian Vegeg. Crin fair taugol shen Ellen Maiden. Tammy gol shen davlion dorti. Nyam kiet gol mert Machalian Veg Dawn. Nyam kid golmert Machalian Vegeg. Nyam kid golmert Ellen Maiden. Tar mer mesh wonya dirty.
My Little Brown-Haired Girl, Machalian Veg Dawn, sung by Brian Maxdole. Whilst the only Manx newspapers from 1826 of which there are surviving copies are the Manx Advertiser and the Manx Rising Sun, there's what's headed Advertisement in an edition of the Manx Advertiser for the 2nd of February 1826, and it reads, "The subscribers to the Manx Patriot are respectfully informed that a delay of 1 week will occur in the next publication, owing to unlooked-for circumstances. It's been proposed for a length of time past to unite the Patriot with the Sun, but which union the editor is determined to resist with the utmost of his power, and to this end proceedings at law will be commenced by him in the course of a few days, unless the cause in dispute is speedily arranged upon fair and honest principles. The editor cannot omit this opportunity of expressing his pleasure at receiving so many respectable testimonials of approval of the sentiments and principles of the Patriot, and is resolved to abide by them. Douglas, February the 1st, 1826. Ve fóin gréisi gávracha na písin de léir, a mar gain de an unfeir de vreg an austau. Ach sa vore te fedden pair de vreg an gint, gemai is gefregertach den gid customer henkes a gréisi, de rauwe customer sjen arltach de ik na smoon an prijsweisjere. Dat de gréisi fodreil léir de loer, son feir de vregen, as rennigiara macht na písin as dege der boord. A mar gain, voor feir de zachte vregen gint. Rende gréisi is a venchesje freilara, as ik meen dat vagen dagen je roest, as vijweg, tjitstjach on. Wat zij zeggen woord, as wat gavrige gebuw is gemai, de wel bregen jindesach gintach as ne meer in de leer, as ten a customer en ledden arltach de ik paltje urge der en son. As shen morte rish tammelt, derre ten gréisi chit de wei burchach. Eist en wen hesje ege grei de bewaili salje gemaakt in muis, den deren je begge. Now last time in Claare Gael, Cornish musician Martha Woods played some Cornish dance music for us. This time this is one of her songs, Crooked Landscape.
Tapestry of 1,000 skies, but we are the only ones who know where we truly belong. So much more than what came before, and the ground that we stand upon. We can sow our seeds on whatever ground we please, so lift the anchor and sail on through the ever-changing seas. We can sow our seeds on whatever ground we please, so lift the anchor and sail on through the ever-changing seas. We can sow our seeds on whatever ground we please, so lift the anchor and sail on through the ever-changing seas. We can sow our seeds on whatever ground we please, so lift the anchor and sail on through the ever-changing seas.
Lostwithiel in Cornwall and singing a song she composed and arranged about its crooked landscape. That was Martha Woods, who also played fiddle, banjo, guitar and did the electronic programming, as well as the recording, mixing and production. In fact, she even did the artwork for the cover of the album. So a one-woman cottage industry is Martha Woods. Tan ben hiesje gyn o lienten, as perien, as cooten, as britchen son en der in je begge, as tan gracie gyn o pyren begge de vregen en son. Tan der in je chits diach on a chiert shaw. Ach on sinne je pischen de lier, gierich mach, de gyn o bregen mach aastau, tad fedden de edien shaw gyn in son, as dat sailje gemach de wel taatje smoe oru. Les slen buwyd, rennad trogl nis na heddion elen, as rennad cormwad, chawds wat goel yr chod jesh y skoch ta shingen chwish, chod jinmud kerj a greisie rish. Esh rennad cor limmerach as dansen begeert, as utsen limme hersh na stalen as na boerd, as verjere rennad dansen mach assen dorres. By een tre shen, gerouwet raag en rish arach, ach, higher you the my leshen gracie gouds vi bio, as Claare be gawe ons laude junno, henkelesh. As shen jedda en hidskiel shen, as na brerch en Grimm chite, der in je begge, sha ferishin ons en habdil short at greirish, na ferishin to shen de grey, the elves. There are only 16 surviving copies of the Manx Patriot from 1824 and one copy from 1825, and it evidently didn't necessarily appear weekly, but that advertisement dated the 1st of February 1826 makes it clear that there was an intention to publish. William Cubban provides useful information in his 1939 publication in 2 volumes, Bibliography of the Literature of the Isle of Man. He has a section devoted to printing, journalism, etc., including information about the editors and printers, the periodicals and the newspapers themselves, and their proprietors. The first edition of the Manx Patriot was announced for the 2nd of March 1824, and subscriptions were payable to Robert Currin, Currin. To what extent it was sour grapes is known, but there's no surviving copy to tell. But the Manx Sun reported very sniffily that the new thing of last week was merely contemptible. The old types with which it is printed seem to have the facility of jumping into the sticks without the aid of editor or compositors. And from County Clare in Ireland, there we heard the harp of Emer Coughlin and the concertina of Francis Cunningham. Francis is from Crusheen and Emer from Tulla, and Emer also plays fiddle in the Tulla Ceilidh Band.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Sure dat Station an Ashen Radio Vanning a sé Claare na Gael vis guller skelia maach ag an tre tón. Mish, Robert Cutting Carswell, mata, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
De clash na Cledden Clairish, vis schacht en lugje guller skelia maach, for the Ugolgas and the Degger Radio Vanning was Raya Chraman Eishrish. De podcast jintje in Clairnius, vis regetten nasty in the Degger Radio Vanning, na trud keren en podcast delia. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Despite the disparagement of an immediate rival in the Manx newspaper world, William Cubbon, who was himself a newspaperman and editor of the Manx Sun newspaper up to the time of its closure in 1906, gives a rather different description of the Manx Patriot in his bibliography. He describes it as, well, the Patriot, however, he writes, compares very favourably with either of its contemporaries, the Sun or the Advertiser. It was a 4-page sheet with 4 columns to each page. For crest it had the 3 legs rotating anti-clockwise with the usual motto and a laurel surrounding the emblem. Beneath the title appeared the words, "This is not the cause of faction or of party, but the common interest of every man in the country." Robert Curran printed the paper, he says, from its inception to July the 10th, 1824. And then elsewhere he says, very little is known of Curran and his connection with man. There is in the museum only an incomplete run of his paper, the Manx Patriot. The first number was published early in March 1824, price 4p British. Ta 3 scilan gieras a chabdal George in a Breirich and Grimm, chabdal bisem misich the world the elves, ach shenas and tradition Germanach. Synonym scilan ferish na Breirich and Grimm, de slide genoimage ferish, na cheden a seville fairy eliam. Ach de John Kelly greid an a fairy elf to ferish, as de Welshen rid njaugesoler is she, to source the spirit to tannacht an merish sly. Ons jörnisch to genoimage foglen benten den ogel she son elf, as tam ien agen sheog do, as je luchrechon, yes, as tam ishir na Welshen na bun je leprechaun, luchrechon. Ach de creator elia en misich clúrachón, as te maiar en son you joch bestialach, as te tege taien oos, as taien imble, as taien sheely as nan lied. Te put de lai smullion na wel a clúrachón, ach leprechaun tre te scoor. Ach tan clúrachón na grésin, yes, vech mai de luas on een skiel shen. Ons nalben tan malachón, as te chindes gol jinu je shen mar elf. Welsh singer-songwriter Owen Shears performs under the name Cynefin, and here he sings, rather unseasonably I'm afraid, about a Madelwr, the Reaper.
Mae'r erwa hir o dan y glog, lle bu'n dilyn neu ar a daiog, yn chwyth amdano na nesmwyth iawn, tan eigion melyn o'r pyr a frawn. Yr hafin eiddfedu sydd i'r tyfodd ei ysgub yn taru'n pryd, gwelwyd ei glito gyda'r wawr, i adlanddu draig yn heiaf mawr. Ond yn yr hen dren glwg ar y mir, mae cram yn segur fel yn Mae rhwyr yn ei bwyta darn o'r tharn a choll yw'r hewyd bygynt yn ei gar. Yn ei gar. Gwelwyd yn dychwel bob tro i hynt o'r erwau arian yn hen ffordd gynt. Mae'r diobaith ei aros yw yn ffordd diadlam a merw Duw. Daw o fer i fedi o glawdd i glawdd, ddewyd dengar o orchwel hawdd, dan y maraeth a lwynion trw, mae'r erwen gwengo ar hyd y cwl. Ac an ar hen dren grog ar y mir, mae Grimm a'n segur fel enfystir. Mae rhwyr yn ei bwyta darn o'r tharn a choll yw'r hewyd bygynt yn ei garn. Yn ei garn. Yn ei garn. Yn ei garn. Segur fel enfystir, 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 segur fel
The word Cynefin means acquainted or accustomed and can have the meaning of a habitat, and Cynefin is the name that Owen Shears of Ceredigion in Wales performs and records under, and there he sang his song Y Medelwr, the Reaper. As Masorgus a nasgil J. Tris a Chabdil Shaw, Michon the Ferishin. Curt the Rauw a ben Char went Barchon, va Fiechlen as Teruch. Be skeben tai dach lei, as we corn of a skebet kujach ek carnen boer Ljorishen Doris. Mara the Rauw, rosh mer any god toyach der noverek, huri skriwen, a seren honor doddy ljai, huggy a skebek na lai sa corneel, as renny corli a skriwen gus a vainstjes of an ansjek, de redden macht na van bunje. She quiravon vine a ferishen, as wat giri en in a veld de hit as de ve mimmer de ferge en a perchenok. Rauw fissegen in a veil na de junno, as no der rauwe inchitje nach lizig peger wie gobbelweg den a ferishen, van aigne jintek de rol. Maar zo henk 3 ferishen begge, renli jeli sus, se vein jay sluwerd, bol van a munje wegge bege. Ansjove de goljurid jay moods viebeg. Ach, de smoe medders en jesje na for die kunte bij jintjo. William Cubban says of Robert Curran, he advertises on the 1st of March that he can do all descriptions of printing, including bookwork, pamphlets and circulars. He asks also for orders for copperplate printing and bookbinding in its various branches. Curran, whose name is sometimes wrongly spelled Kerwin, was followed in his printing office by Sumner. Well, as we heard, Robert Curran's final edition of the Manx Patriot was for the 10th of July, 1824, and William Cubban says, the following issue announced that John Sumner acts as printer and publisher for the new proprietors. But Sumner's name didn't begin to appear in the imprint until September the 11th. In the interim, the name of T. Davis, who was also the printer of the last numbers of the Weekly Gazette, appeared. Sumner was 32 years of age when he took over the Patriot, as later transpired, under the employ of the chief proprietor, Thomas Gael of Ballacurry, Kirkchrist Rushen, who afterwards became Deemster. A song about a hornless beast now. Scottish Gaelic singer Kim Carney sees a young woman go down to the shore. She slips somehow and takes the form of a hornless beast. Oran na bestje mule. Kim Carney and Oran the Bestje Mule, the song of the hornless beast. In Manx English, a dehorned cow, or a cow without horns, was often called a mallee, and male is also bald, and bare-headed hills are called male, like the Mule Hill rising above Port Erin. William Cubban continues. He puts a little heading in. John Sumner. There were many occasions during Sumner's editorship when publication was seriously delayed, and there were even some weeks when no issue appeared at all. Usually the explanation is to be found in the editor-publisher's absence, once in England, and several times in Castle Rushen jail. He was sued for libel in October 1824, but was acquitted. In a later libel action, he was not so fortunate. At the end of the trial in 1825, the printer was fined £5 and sentenced to 3 months' imprisonment. It was prior to this trial that he evaded the law by hiding in various parts of the island. finally spending a few days at the Point of Ayr lighthouse. In the Patriot of April 15th, 1825, Sumner wrote of the paper's anniversary. We have at last, after wading through all the quagmires and sloughs of opposition and persecution, arrived at the conclusion of the first year of the Manx Patriot's progress. Ver moir a fetch yn y lai ons liavi gintas ebony, tagit leis perlin as van choleid lechet leis air, van klein as ivory, as a tubber only as air. Mar saw henken in a veil de vee na mimma, as eish vi giri gold a valia. Ach, ren de version gui uri de hannacht an meru is trile en eljeg en goed slew. As mar saw renny cordeel, as chiawi en trei ons ginnelis as ons gin mai, as wij gin de rauw eile moer eg na version uri. Fe jere trevi erlu de goller soul, rennet lienen a poggen ek leis air, as rennet ligeli ash rish maach as een klew. Tre renki a tai rish, vi chigod toig der averish, as gawi a scabe sa lauek, van scabe fos na shadows sa chorneel, on bien in Gaeli, as gawi toig der scabe. Esh, henk hook cus de yori, as vrije G, quai beish, as kidded vi de yunno. Two musicians from Quimper in Brittany. That was Jan Cariou on flute with Alain Léon on guitar. And together they make up the Cariou-Léon duo. And they were playing a dance suite for Suite de Tour.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn to Radio Vanningers and Shaw Towers Geisjach, Rish Claare na Gael, Merin Peen, Robert Gutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Ever heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
Hwren in a veil mach, sha, 3 lane, De rauwe jou sjaag bliene is na ferischen se kliw. As se tre shen de rauwe mansje ze benasjek en jeden bes. As shen den haaskiel se chaptel shawst en traskiel na skirre. Ren de ferischen kuurt de rauw Gael Patriot sulvain boirege, as degad sen inne jay Patriot ferish, les kjon moer as suljen bulgach, as gerouwid jenu weggach as you. Ren na voir se vorre ek golgus na nabunen ek, as renny shirra arus on a chorlock. Dinch na nabunen ji, de chorlia Patriot ferish, stjach se chamber early, as de chore fagus den cholach, as eish de jenu an aisle, as de chor ustje de chlai, ons dev bleest oe. Jinnach sjo cor a feitje ferish gerachti, as de berg shen en jerrejay hon. Maar so renne wen maar renne na boenen korligeji. As tre huggy na bleesten oe ledden de ustje nail, lor a peitje ferish. William Cubban, as I mentioned, the former editor of the Manx Sun, had gone on to become the director and librarian of the Manx Museum, and of course that's why he ended up preparing this 2-volume bibliography, which in itself is a wonderful book actually. There's a lot of information in it. And he writes, "The last issue of the Manx Patriot in the library collection is for October the 19th, 1825. Publication probably continued until February of the following year," and here he quotes that very advertisement that we began with. That mentions some forthcoming court proceedings, and William Cubban records that before the Deemster's Court on February the 13th, 1826, however, Thomas Gorn of Ballacurry brought an action against Sumner and his creditors in an attempt to prevent the sale of the press and types of the Patriot in order to cover Sumner's debts. The materials of the Patriot office, it's believed, were finally obtained by James Grelier of the Sun from Thomas Gorn. So the Manx Patriot had a short but quite an interesting sort of life in its way, and it was something to which the Manx Sun returned a few years later, as William Cubban tells us. Now, Claare aren't greedy, they just like a lot, and here they are, laying claim to everything in sight. Sliamse, it's mine.
yn tai yn y slw, yn tai yn y slw, y feather fel shin as we scanch on the shoe. Kira tash and geary, Coon tash and geary, Kira tash and geary, Coon tash and geary, a talu, a cheen, a rear, an air.
Sliamse, and that was Manx band Claare. The difficulties of publishing the Manx Advertiser and the Manx Rising Sun at that period were described just a few years later by the Manx Sun as it had become by then. The United Journals don't actually together receive payment for more than about 400 copies weekly. The weekly sales of the two journals amounted to £6 or £7, for which 2 printing offices are engaged, and the copies delivered over the whole island gratis. It's true that the advertisements amount to nearly as much more, but even with this edition, the expenses of the press are not covered, and it's only by the addition of private printing that the office could be at all supported. Under the circumstances, the public can scarcely demand more of the proprietor of an insular journal than a fair compilation of public events from the London and provincial journals and a report of passing public insular events. Reporters in England are paid £5 a week, which is much more than the profits of both the insular journals together. Dúirt a péirte ferish. Gael dane chushan ta mish as billion a celia, cré seo nish. Cogra Jones blaze do, ga vac me the fear a lid shen riu, as gauw a péirte ferish toicht e gerachti. As je lerach, henks jaag on chonnel de ferishen, as Hudson corliau a péirte kaart, as rennet cor in a life fagest and cholach, as rennet dimmer soul a péirte ferish meru. As shene and tras skiel gier se chap til show mechion de ferishen. Gien enem en a skiel genodum grede wel enem sent en skiel en message, en dun je pussy van a merliach. Tred au van muljeron, as van nie nelen egge, as we ledden esich, as we burrich de bergie poest de mai, as de berkereel gol goilgi, as smonnie. Mubish sours diach de renje chit de shire goili ons poesa, niem cori day. Ons treg gier lug shen, henk versuri roche, but gien de way fi verchach. Now this is another song about a young couple meeting, and they very definitely agree, and they get married, after listening to the fond tale of the sweet nightingale in the Cornish valley. This is the Calstock Singers with a great Cornish favourite.
My sweetheart, come along, don't you hear the fun song? The sweet notes of the nightingale flow. You shall hear the fun tale of the sweet nightingale as she sings in the valley below. As she sings in the valley below. Pretty Betty, don't fail, for I'll carry your pail. Safe home to your cot as we go. You shall hear the fond tale of the sweet nightingale as she sings in the valley below. As she sings in the valley below.
Pray let me alone, I have hands of my own, and along with you, sir, I'll not go. For to hear the fond tale of the sweet nightingale as she sings in the valley below. As she sings in the valley below.
Pray sit yourself down with me on the ground, on the bank where the primroses grow. You shall hear the fond tale of the sweet nightingale as she sings in the valley below. As she sings in the valley below. The couple agreed to be married with speed, and along to the church they did go. None the more she's afraid for to walk in the shade or to lie in the valley below, or to lie in the valley below.
Well, through that particular valley they'll be running the Tamar on which Calstock stands, and the Calstock singers sang of the Sweet Nightingale, as I say, a great Cornish favourite. Ern rau fisser bi ag a wulje nai in suri shaw, hog e gelden de liga de pusa ninega. Ach we gin rau a nien cor graide san acht liesach ben fusi co graiden den je pusi ex. Rau barenter bi ag onsen. Gemennicus honneki Gemennicus honneki na vi smuljenair, Jenny Furid Sachriek. Now this article in William Cubban's bibliography about John Sumner finishes off now. John Sumner, a person by no means deficient of talent, who was furnished with press, types, and office gratis, and for whom collections were frequently made besides, could never collect a sufficient return to defray the labour of his office. He made the attempt during a period of strong public excitement, and after trying both sides, he failed and fled. As onshent as yn dŵn o dyligan na sian ffeber yn naiach rish. You can enjoy the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening in the company of Chris Pearson from 7 o'clock to 9, and at 9 o'clock Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown. Donegal fiddler Kieran O'Mweeney is joined by Sean O'Graham and Liam O'Mweeney for a wonderful version of Kitty O'Neill's here to bring Claare and Gael to a close this time. Ach Sienne Cartnish, and so until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach,
Old Bobby Bob,
wishing you a very good night. Eve I'm a Cree Dutch, as Dutch, my Yeri and Share.